Stay with me until the end, and I promise you won't leave the same. You'll walk away not just inspired, but equipped. Because when you discover the master within, you don't just change your life, you transform your world. Let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. Because this moment right here, this is just between you and you. When was the last time you truly looked within, not just at what you do, but who you are? I'm not talking about surface level reflection. I'm not talking about scrolling through a highlight reel on social media and comparing yourself to everyone else's curated life. I'm talking about raw, unfiltered self-awareness. The kind that cracks you wide open and shows you the truth. Because here's the deal. You cannot discover the master within you until you're willing to face the version of yourself that's been running the show so far. The voice in your head, the one that tells you you're not enough, not ready, not worthy, it didn't come from you. That voice was installed by fear, by experience, by the people who never saw your full light. But you don't have to let that voice be the author of your story. That voice is loud, yes, but it's not wise. The master within you, that's the voice that's quiet, but it's powerful. It speaks in certainty, in knowing, in purpose. The first step to personal greatness, real lasting greatness, isn't external. It's not more money, it's not more followers, it's not even more success. It's awareness, self-awareness, because if you don't know who you are at your core, you'll keep chasing things that never fulfill you. You'll achieve goals that don't satisfy your soul. And eventually you'll wake up wondering how you climbed so far and still feel to see. Most people are living on autopilot. They're reacting instead of creating. And it's not because they're lazy or broken. It's because they've never been taught to pause and look inside. We've been trained to seek validation from the outside world, approval, applause, attention. But the truth is, the most powerful transformation you will ever experience doesn't come from anyone out there. It comes from remembering who the hell you are in here. You are not your job. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not the opinions other people formed about you. You are not the story you've been telling yourself about why you can't. You are something deeper. You are something far greater. But if you keep living life by default, if you keep letting circumstances define your identity, you'll never get to access that power within you. You'll never meet the version of you that is unstoppable. And that version of you is in there. I don't care where you come from. I don't care how many times you've failed. I don't care what your bank account looks like or how broken you feel right now. Inside of you is a fire that has never gone out. It's just been buried under years of conditioning, trauma, disappointment, distraction. But the good news, all it takes is one spark to reignite it, one moment of truth, one decision to stop hiding and start owning who you are. And maybe you don't know where to start. That's okay. Start with honesty. Ask yourself, what do I really want? Who am I when no one's watching? What am I pretending not to know? Because the answers to those questions, that's where your power lives. And yes, it might be uncomfortable. It might even scare you. But discomfort is the birthplace of transformation. You cannot grow if you're not willing to stretch. So many people wait for permission to change. They wait for the perfect timing, the right opportunity, the ideal support system. Let me tell you something. You are the permission. You are the opportunity. You are the support you've been waiting for. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be rediscovered. You've got to look beyond the surface, peel back the layers. The roles you play, the masks you wear, they serve the purpose, but they're not you. You've got to get to the root. Because when you tap into that level of clarity, when you meet yourself beneath the noise, something shifts. You stop settling. You stop shrinking. You stop pretending. And for the first time, maybe in your entire life, you begin to live from a place of truth. And from that place, anything is possible, because that's where the master lives. Not out there, not someday, but right now, within you. All you have to do is finally answer the call. Let's talk about something that will either build the life you want or keep you stuck in the life you've settled for. Your mindset. Because listen, I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how much potential is sitting inside you. If your mind is at war with your purpose, you will never step into your greatness. You can have all the tools, all the strategies, all the connections in the world, but if your mind is conditioned to believe that you're not enough, not ready, not worthy, then you'll sabotage every opportunity that shows up for you. And here's the truth. Most people are not held back by their circumstances. They're held back by the meaning they attach to those circumstances. That's mindset. That's the filter through which you see the world and yourself. And until you change that filter, you'll keep reliving the same story, just with different characters and different settings. Now, I'm not saying it's your fault that you picked up some of those beliefs. Let's be real. Most of the beliefs in your mind right now aren't even yours. You inherited them. You absorbed them from parents, teachers, friends, society. Somewhere along the way, someone said something or didn't say something, and you made it mean something about your worth. You failed a few times, and you made it mean you weren't good enough. Someone left, and you made it mean you weren't lovable. But here's the moment of truth. Just because you believed it doesn't mean it's real. Your beliefs are not facts. They're decisions. And the beautiful thing about decisions, they can be changed. You can decide right now to let go of the mindset that's been keeping you small. You can decide to stop playing the role of the victim and start becoming the architect of your future. You can decide that your past does not have to be the blueprint for what comes next. There are two mindsets that live in all of us. The one that limits and the one that liberates. The limiting mindset says, I can't. The liberating mindset says, I'll figure it out. The limiting mindset says, I failed too many times. The liberating mindset says, every failure has been preparing me. The limiting mindset says, I'm not ready. The liberating mindset says, I'm ready enough to start. And that shift, that simple but powerful shift, is the difference between staying stuck and moving forward. It's the difference between surviving and leading, between regret and fulfillment. You've got to train your mind the way an athlete trains their body. Daily, consistently, with intention, because your mind will always go to the place you've practiced most. And if you've been rehearsing fear, doubt, and self-sabotage, then that's where it'll return every time life gets hard. But when you begin to rewire that pattern, when you start feeding your mind possibility, belief, vision, everything begins to change. Not just how you think, but how you show up. Let me give it to you straight. There's nothing more dangerous than a person with a powerful mind and a clear purpose. Nothing. Because that person becomes unstoppable. That person doesn't need things to be perfect to take action. They don't need everyone to understand their journey. They move with conviction, not convenience. But it starts with the decision to shift. That doesn't mean you'll never have doubt again. It doesn't mean fear disappears. It just means you stop giving it control. It means you feel the resistance and you move anyway. It means you stop asking for permission to be great. You think the people you admire don't have insecurities. They do. They've just learned how to master their mind instead of being mastered by it. And here's the truth no one talks about enough. Your thoughts are not you. They're just suggestions, ideas, echoes. And you get to choose which ones to believe. You get to choose which ones get airtime in your head. So what if, starting now, you decided to upgrade the inner dialogue? What if you stopped rehearsing worst-case scenarios and started visualizing success? What if you stopped waiting for confidence to show up and started building it through action? Because you don't get confidence from standing still. You build confidence by keeping promises to yourself, one step, one win, one breakthrough at a time. You want to change your life? Change your standards. Change your story. Change your state. Your mind is a tool, one of the most powerful tools you'll ever have access to, but like any tool, its power depends on how you use it. You can use it to build, or you can use it to destroy. The choice is yours. So right now, today, ask yourself, is my mindset building the life I want? Or is it building the excuses I've been hiding behind? Because the moment you take full ownership of your mindset, that's the moment you take back control of your life. And when that happens, you don't just think differently, you live differently. Let me ask you something real. What drives you? Not what pays the bills, not what impresses your friends, not what looks good on paper, but what actually lights you up from the inside out. Because you can have all the success in the world, money, influence, status, but if you're not aligned with purpose, if you're not moving from passion, then at the end of the day, you're just checking boxes. You're living, but you're not alive. I've met people who've made millions and they're still miserable. Why? Because somewhere along the way, they lost their connection to purpose. They chased achievement without alignment. They worked harder, climbed higher, moved faster, but they forgot to ask themselves one crucial question. Does this even matter to me? Purpose isn't about what you do, it's about what you're called to do. It's that, when you touch it, when you speak it, when you step into it, everything around you changes. Your energy shifts, your focus sharpens, your life starts to make sense. And the best part, it's already inside of you. You don't have to go find it, you have to remember it. But to do that, you've got to quiet the noise. You've got to stop letting the world decide who you're supposed to be, because the world will try to hand you a script. Go to school, get the job, follow the rules, don't ask questions, don't stand out. But that script isn't written for greatness, it's written for comfort. And comfort is the enemy of purpose. If you're going to live a life of meaning, you have to be willing to get uncomfortable. You have to be willing to walk paths no one's walked before, to take risks, to make decisions not everyone understands. Because your purpose is your responsibility, not your parents, not your bosses, not society's, yours. And let me be clear. Your purpose isn't just some grand, untouchable mission in the clouds. It's found in the things that move you, the things that break your heart, the things that make you come alive. It's in the moments where time disappears, where you forget to check your phone, where your soul whispers, yes, this. That's purpose. And passion is the fuel. See, purpose gives you direction. Passion gives you energy. You need both. Because there will be days when it's hard. There will be moments where you doubt, where you feel tired, where nothing seems to be working. That's when passion steps in. That's when you remember why you started. The fire inside you has to burn brighter than the pressure outside you. And that fire comes from alignment. When your values, your actions, and your mission are all in sync, you become unstoppable. Too many people are exhausted, not because they're doing too much, but because they're doing things that drain their spirit. They're out of alignment. They're forcing themselves to chase goals they never really wanted. That's burnout. But when you live from purpose, you don't burn out the same way. You get tired, sure, but it's the kind of tired that feels fulfilling, not hollow. So if you're sitting there wondering why you feel stuck, why nothing feels meaningful, it's not that you're broken, you're just disconnected. And connection comes from asking better questions. What matters to me? What would I do if no one was watching? What breaks my heart? And what can I do about it? And maybe you don't have all the answers yet. That's okay. Purpose isn't something you find in one moment. It's something you uncover layer by layer, through action, through listening, through paying attention. But you've got to be willing to start. You've got to be willing to follow that pull, even if it doesn't make perfect sense right now. And let's kill this myth once and for all. You don't have to quit your job, move to a new country, or change your whole life tomorrow to live in purpose. Sometimes living with purpose is about how you show up more than where you show up. It's about the energy, the intention, the meaning you bring to what you do. But you do have to be honest, brutally honest. Are you living from your truth, or are you living from your fear? Because if fear's in the driver's seat, purpose never even gets a chance to speak. And if there's a whisper in your gut right now, if there's a quiet voice telling you there's something more, you better listen. That's your soul talking. That's the master within you starting to stir. And the more you listen to that voice, the louder it gets. The more you act on it, the more doors begin to open. Not by magic, but by alignment. Life responds when you move with purpose. So stop waiting for clarity to strike like lightning. It doesn't work that way. Clarity comes from movement, from momentum, from trying, failing, adjusting, evolving. But it starts with one decision: to stop living on autopilot and start living on purpose. Because when you align with passion, when you commit to purpose, when you choose meaning over mediocrity, everything changes. And suddenly, the life you once dreamed about becomes the life you wake up to. Let's talk about something that isn't sexy. Something that doesn't always get the spotlight. But without it, none of the mindset shifts, none of the purpose-driven goals, none of the passion even matters. And that's discipline. Everyone loves the idea of change. Everyone loves the highlight reel, the moment where everything clicks, the win, the breakthrough, but very few are willing to fall in love with the process that creates those moments. Discipline is the bridge between your goals and your greatness. It's what separates people who talk about doing something from those who actually do it. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. It's not your motivation that will carry you through the hard days. It's not inspiration. It's not even talent. It's your habits. It's what you do when you don't feel like showing up. Let me be real with you. There will be days you don't want to do the work. Days when the old voices come back. Days when the passion fades, when the purpose feels far away, when your mind starts telling you all the reasons why today's not the day. But that's exactly when the real transformation happens. Not when it's easy, when it's hard, when it's boring, when no one's watching, when it's just you, your decisions, and your future. Everybody wants results, but very few are willing to commit to the process. But guess what? The process is the path. There is no shortcut, no hack, no magic formula. Just discipline, repetition, consistency. And that's not a punishment, that's your power. Because once you learn to master discipline, you become unstoppable. Not because it gets easier, but because you get stronger. Think about it. How many times have you made a promise to yourself and then broken it? And how did that feel? Every time we break our own word, even in the smallest ways, we chip away at our self-respect. We teach ourselves that our word doesn't matter. But when you practice discipline, when you follow through on what you said you'd do, especially when it's inconvenient, you build something much more powerful than just results. You build trust with yourself. That's the foundation of confidence. That's how you build belief that's not based on hype, it's based on evidence. You start stacking wins. And even the small ones count. Waking up early when you said you would, showing up to the workout, making the call, writing the page, saying no when the easy thing would have been yes. These are the quiet wins that shape your destiny. Let me be clear. Discipline doesn't mean rigidity. It doesn't mean being perfect. It means being committed It means choosing long-term reward over short-term comfort. It means understanding that growth doesn't come from doing what feels good. It comes from doing what's necessary. And that's why consistency matters just as much. Because one powerful action done once, that's a spark. But powerful actions done daily, that's a fire that doesn't go out. That's momentum. That's mastery. You don't need to take massive steps every single day. You just need to keep moving, keep showing up. Even if it's just 1 inch forward, you want to build a better body, you don't need one intense workout. You need hundreds of boring, sweaty, disciplined workouts stacked over time. You want to build wealth? You don't need one financial windfall. You need years of consistent habits, investments, and decisions that no one claps for. You want to build a life that matters. Then you've got to be willing to do the work when no one is celebrating you, when no one is applauding, when it's just you and the grind. And listen, this isn't about hustle culture. This is about ownership. When you are consistent and disciplined, you're no longer a prisoner of your emotions. You become the creator of your life. You're no longer waiting for the right mood or the perfect moment. You become the moment. You lead your life instead of reacting to it. You've got to become someone who follows through, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. Someone who values growth over comfort, vision over distraction, mastery over mediocrity. Because while everyone else is out there chasing the next dopamine hit, you're building something real, something that lasts. So what if you made discipline your identity? Not something you try to do, but something you are? What if being consistent wasn't a challenge, but a standard? What if the way you showed up, even on the hard days, became the very thing that separated you from everyone else? Let me tell you something powerful. The compound effect is real. What you do repeatedly creates your reality. Your habits either serve your vision or sabotage it. Every day, every choice, every action. It's a vote for the person you're becoming. And the good news, you get to decide. You get to choose what habits stay and which ones go. You get to create systems that make winning automatic, not based on willpower, based on identity, based on the truth that you're not here to dabble, you're here to dominate. So stop negotiating with your potential. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for someone to push you. You are the push. You are the standard. And if you want to discover the master within, you've got to train like one. You've got to live like one. Because when you master discipline and consistency, you don't just change what you do, you change who you are. At some point in your journey, maybe it's already happened, maybe it's happening right now, you're going to hit a wall. Not just any wall. I'm talking about the kind that shakes you to your core, the kind that makes you question everything, the kind of pain that isn't just physical or external, but emotional, deep, internal. The stuff that doesn't show up on the outside, but burns like hell on the inside. And let me say this loud and clear. Pain is not the end of your story. Pain is the beginning of transformation if you let it be. You see, most people run from pain. They avoid it, suppress it, numb it. They distract themselves. They tell themselves stories to make it go away, to make it more comfortable. But what they don't realize is that pain has a purpose. It's not here to destroy you. It's here to wake you up, to show you something, to stretch you, to create space inside you for more strength, more wisdom, more fire. You think the people who inspire you most never suffered? No. What sets them apart is that they didn't waste their pain. They didn't let it define them. They let it refine them. They took the hurt, the heartbreak, the betrayal, the failure, and instead of building walls around their heart, they built muscle in their spirit. They turned pain into fuel. Because here's the thing, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And when you understand that, you take back your power. You stop being a victim of your experiences and start becoming a creator through them. Some of the most powerful shifts in life happen after a breakdown. When everything falls apart, when there's nothing left to hold on to, that's when the real version of you starts to emerge. Not the version that plays small, not the one that's trying to be liked. The real you, the one who's resilient, the one who's relentless, the one who says, I've been through the fire and I didn't come out burned, I came out forged. But to get there, you have to stop asking, why did this happen to me? And start asking, what can this teach me? What can I do with this? That shift in perspective is where growth lives. That's where the master within you is born. Some of you have been through things that would have broken most people. You're still here. You may be scarred, but you're still standing. That alone is proof of your power. So stop hiding your story. Stop being ashamed of your wounds. Those wounds are the very thing that someone else needs to see, that someone else needs to hear. Not the polished version of you, the real version. The one who's been through it and didn't. Your pain doesn't disqualify you. It qualifies you. It gives you depth. It gives you empathy. It gives you the ability to lead not just from your head, but from your heart. Because you can't guide someone through something you've never walked through yourself. But once you've lived it, you carry a different kind of authority, not because you read it in your bones. And don't think for 1 second that your pain was random. That heartbreak, that failure, that loss, that moment you thought would end you, it didn't come to stop you. It came to shape you. To reveal a layer of you that comfort never could. To crack the surface so the light could finally come through. Pain is a portal, and if you walk through it with courage instead of resentment, you'll find that on the other side is a version of you that is more rounded, more aligned, and more powerful than anything you've known before. But you've got to make a decision. You've got to decide that your pain will serve you, not enslave you. That it will push you forward, not hold you back. That you will use it instead of letting it use you. And I know it's not easy. I know some of you are carrying things that no one else sees. But I promise you, the moment you stop resisting your pain and start working with it, that's when the shift begins. That's when everything inside you starts to organize around healing, strength, and purpose. Because when you take your pain and wrap it in courage, when you use it to fuel your mission instead of feed your fear, your life becomes a testament, a message, a movement. You stop just surviving and start leading. The greatest version of you isn't the one who never struggled. It's the one who chose to rise anyway. And every time you rise, you don't just lift yourself, you lift everyone around you. So don't you dare hide your story. Don't bury your battle. Don't minimize your scars. They're not signs of weakness. They're proof that you're still fighting. Proof that the master within you is alive and ready. There's something we don't talk about enough when we're chasing greatness. Everyone wants the mindset, the strategy, the game plan, but if you don't have emotional resilience, none of it lasts. Because life doesn't just test your skills, it tests your heart. It doesn't just challenge your vision, it challenges your capacity to feel, to hold, and to bounce back. Resilience isn't about pretending to be tough. It's not about putting on a mask and acting like nothing bothers you. It's about developing the strength to feel deeply without breaking apart. It's about standing tall in the middle of emotional storms and saying, I won't run from this. I'll grow through this. You want to lead? You want to grow? You want to build something extraordinary? Then you have to learn how to stay grounded when the ground beneath you shakes. Because it will. Life will throw things at you that you didn't see coming. Pain, loss, rejection, unexpected changes. And it's in those moments that you find out what you're made of. Resilience is the muscle that allows you to keep going when the world says stop. It's what allows you to feel fear and still move forward, to feel disappointment and still choose gratitude, to feel doubt and still believe in what you're building. And the truth is, most people never cultivate this muscle. They react, they run, they get overwhelmed by their own emotions because no one ever taught them how to process them. But if you're going to discover the master within, you've got to do more than just think strong. You've got to feel strong. You've got to become emotionally intelligent, emotionally honest, emotionally unshakable. So how do you build that? You start by being real with yourself. You stop hiding from what you feel, because every emotion is feedback. Every reaction is an invitation to look deeper. And emotional resilience is born not in denial, but in awareness. You can't transform what you're not willing to face. The people who grow the most, who rise the highest, who lead with the most power, they're not the ones who avoid their emotions. They're the ones who master them. Not by suppressing, but by owning them. By learning how to sit in discomfort, breathe through the chaos, and stay anchored in the middle of emotional waves. And listen, this doesn't mean you'll never feel low. It doesn't mean life stops being hard. But it means your relationship with challenge changes. It means you no longer fear breakdowns because you know a breakthrough is on the other side. It means you stop taking things personally and start taking responsibility. Because emotional resilience is about response over reaction. It's the ability to slow down in the heat of the moment and ask, who do I want to be right now? Instead of letting the moment control you. It's choosing power over panic, growth over guilt, vision over emotional volatility. And I'll tell you something else. When you build this kind of strength inside, you stop getting knocked off course so easily. You stop giving your peace away to every opinion, every comment, every circumstance that doesn't go your way. You become rooted in something deeper, a self-trust that isn't dependent on external stability, a kind of inner calm that no chaos can touch. That's when you become dangerous in the best way. Because people can feel it when you're no longer reactive, when you're no longer fragile, when you can hold tension, hold pressure, hold complexity, and still choose clarity, still choose presence, still choose to lead. And this matters now more than ever, because we live in a world that's emotionally charged. People are walking around triggered, reactive, operating from wounds they haven't healed. But if you can be the one who stays grounded, who doesn't get swept away by drama or fear, then you become a lighthouse. You become the one others look to, not because you have all the answers, but because you've built something solid within. And here's what's beautiful. You don't have to be born with this. It's not a gift. It's a choice. You build it through the way you live, the way you breathe when things get tough, the way you speak to yourself when you fail, the way you recover, recalibrate, and re-engage. Every time life knocks you down and you rise anyway, you're growing emotional resilience. Every time you choose to listen instead of react, to stay open instead of shut down, to keep your heart soft even when the world gets hard, you're becoming stronger than the circumstances around you. So if you're in the fire right now, if you're facing something heavy, something personal, something real, I want you to remember this. You are not weak for feeling. You are powerful because you feel. And your emotions, they're not obstacles. They're allies. They're here to guide you back to your center, to remind you what matters, to show you where your healing lives. But only if you choose to meet them with presence instead of resistance, with compassion instead of control, with courage instead of fear. Because the more you master your emotional state, the more you master your life. And the world doesn't need more people who pretend to be. It needs people who are strong because they've done the work. People who've been through the emotional war and still choose love, still choose power, still choose to lead. Because when you cultivate emotional resilience, you stop reacting like a victim and you start living like a master. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you've got to go together. I'm telling you right now, no matter how strong your mindset is, no matter how powerful your vision, no matter how disciplined or resilient you become, if you keep surrounding yourself with people who drain your energy, doubt your potential, or keep pulling you back into old versions of yourself, you will always feel stuck. Always. You become the average of the people you spend the most time with. You absorb their habits, their standards, their language, their beliefs. So let me ask you something. Are the people around you reflecting your greatness, or are they reinforcing your limitations? Because every conversation is either expanding you or shrinking you. Every relationship is either reminding you of who you can be or keeping you locked in who you used to be. There is no neutral. Energy is contagious. Mindsets are contagious. And mediocrity, that's a virus too. You've got to become ruthless about your environment, not out of ego, but out of vision, out of clarity, out of love for the person you're becoming. Because if you want to rise, you can't stay in rooms where growth is optional. You've got to seek out people who are hungry for more, who challenge you to elevate, who don't just celebrate your wins, but call you out when you're playing small. That's real love. That's real leadership. Some of you are stuck, not because you lack potential, but because you keep shrinking to stay connected to people who aren't growing. And I get it. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is outgrow someone you love, to evolve beyond the space that once felt like home. But here's the truth. If you have to dim your light to be accepted, you're in the wrong room. And the longer you stay in those spaces, the more your soul starts to forget what it came here to do. This isn't about cutting people off out of judgment. It's about honoring your path. It's about realizing that your energy is sacred. Your focus is sacred, and you can't afford to keep giving it to people who don't value it. Because every time you lower your standards to meet someone where they are, you step further away from where you could be. Now, I want you to imagine what would happen if you surrounded yourself with people who believed in your greatness, even on the days you forgot it. People who didn't just talk about goals, but lived them. People who weren't threatened by your growth, but inspired by it. Imagine the momentum, the alignment, the elevation. That's the power of proximity. The right people don't just support your journey, they amplify it. They make you bolder, sharper, more grounded. They hold a mirror to your highest self and say, that's who you are. Now act like it. And let's be real. It takes courage to change your circle, to let go of comfort, to walk away from the familiar. But you weren't born to live in a cage built by other people's fears. You were born to lead, to grow, to expand. And sometimes that means walking alone for a little while till you find your tribe. But it's worth it. Because when you get around people who are on fire for their mission, who are obsessed with becoming their best, not to impress, but to serve, everything in you rises. That's what alignment feels like. You don't have to force it. You don't have to fake it. You just show up and elevate. Because now you're in a room where excellence is normal, where truth is spoken, where growth is expected. And that kind of energy, it pulls things out of you that you didn't even know were there. But first, you've got to be willing to leave the rooms where your potential's being suffocated, where gossip replaces vision, where comfort replaces challenge, where fitting in means losing yourself. You've got to get honest about who in your life is pushing you forward and who is quietly holding you back. And don't confuse history with alignment. Just because someone's been in your life a long time doesn't mean they belong in your future. You've got to stop handing out front row seats to people who aren't clapping for you. And that might sound harsh, but it's not hate, it's growth. It's clarity. It's knowing that the quality of your life is directly linked to the quality of your relationships. So find the people who stretch your thinking, who challenge your stories, who live with integrity, who show up with intention. And when you do, don't just take from them, contribute. Show up fully, serve, support. Be the kind of person you want to attract. Because when you lead with that kind of energy, you don't just attract growth-minded people, you become one. And from that space, from that alignment, everything changes. You stop questioning your worth. You stop explaining your dreams. You just build. You just rise. You just become. Because when you're surrounded by people who see your light and demand that you live in it, you stop settling for anything less than greatness. Everything we've talked about, owning your identity, rewriting your story, turning pain into power, building resilience, surrounding yourself with warriors of growth, it all leads to this, living your life with purpose and intention. Because without purpose, you can have all the tools in the world, all the success, all the achievement, and still feel empty. You can climb to the top of a ladder only to realize it's been leaning against the wrong wall the entire time. And that's one of the most heartbreaking things I see. People who've built impressive lives on the outside, but inside they're starving for something real, something meaningful, something aligned. That's what purpose does. It gives meaning to the grind. It gives power to the pain. It gives direction to the decisions you make daily. Because when you know why you're doing what you're doing, you stop chasing what looks good and you start living what feels right. This isn't about having some grand, polished mission statement. It's not about waiting for the perfect aha moment from the universe. It's about choosing right now to live on purpose. It's about showing up each day with a clear intention to grow, to give, to serve something bigger than yourself. That's when your life starts to catch fire. That's when you start drifting and start driving. You know what robs most people of their power? They don't live on purpose. They live by default. They wake up, check their phone, react to the world, go through the motions, handle what's urgent instead of what's important, and repeat. They're living accidentally. And then they wonder why they feel stuck, why they feel uninspired, why it feels like something's missing. Let me tell you something. Fulfillment doesn't come from routine. It comes from alignment, from knowing that who you are, what you do, and why you do it are all in sync. That's when you tap into a level of peace, of drive, of joy that nothing outside of you can take away. Purpose isn't something you find one day. It's something you create every day. It's the intention behind how you love your people. It's the passion you bring to your craft. It's the courage to keep showing up, even when no one's clapping, even when the path is because you know who you are, you know what you stand for, and that knowing becomes your compass. And intention, that's how you stay aligned with that compass. It's the micro decisions, the small moments that seem insignificant, but are actually shaping everything. It's how you speak to yourself when you fail, how you treat people when no one's watching, what you do with your time, your energy, your presence. Are you operating from fear or from faith? Are you reacting from wounds or responding from wisdom? Living with intention means you stop living on autopilot. You stop waiting for motivation and you become your own reason. You start asking different questions. What kind of person do I want to be today? What energy do I want to bring into this room? What legacy am I building in this moment with this decision, with this conversation? Because purpose isn't just about the big stages or the big wins, it's in the details. It's in how you show up for your family, how you handle adversity, how you speak life into others. It's how you walk through your own storm and become a shelter for someone else and theirs. And here's what's powerful. When you live with purpose, life stops happening to you and starts happening through you. You become a vessel for something greater than your own ego. You start to see that your gifts were never just about you. They're meant to impact others. Your story, it was never just yours. It's a light post for someone else who's still in the dark. That's where real fulfillment lives. Not in the applause, but in the alignment. Not in being busy, but in being on mission. And when you live that way, when you wake up every day asking, how can I serve? How can I grow? How can I love better? You start to feel unstoppable. Not because life is perfect, but because you're living it on purpose. And here's the truth. Your purpose isn't somewhere out there waiting to be discovered like a hidden treasure. It's right here, buried inside your willingness to be honest, to be brave, to be fully alive. You activate it every time you choose growth over comfort, truth over convenience, vision over distraction. So let me ask you, are you living intentionally or are you just passing time? Are you letting the world shape you or are you shaping the world through the way you live? This isn't a dress rehearsal, this is your life. And every moment is either building the legacy you're proud of or the regret you'll have to live with. It's time to stop drifting and start directing. Time to stop waiting and start becoming. Because when you live with purpose, every step becomes sacred. Every breath becomes powerful. And every day becomes a chance to make your life a message. Because when you live with purpose and intention, you don't just leave an impact. You become a force that can't be ignored.